Does the name Michelle Rhee mean anything to you? Does that name really ring any bells for you? Well, Michelle Rhee is the Chancellor of the D.C. Public Schools in Washington, D.C. She's the head cheese there. She's the big kahuna. She's the one who oversees all the public schools in Washington, D.C. She's a media darling as well. She's been on the cover of Time magazine. She's done interviews with major networks. She's been on radio, the internet, etc. She's all over the place. The media just love her. She's the go-to person whenever there's a story about cleaning up public schools in this country. But one of the things that I found in the media coverage is that there aren't a lot of critical questions asked of her. There aren't a lot of probing questions asked of her. And the way that she's positioned in the media, she's like this great manager. Like she can get things done. She's fired principals and she's fired teachers. And she's a person that's on the cutting edge, you see. So I just wanted to test to see if she really lived up to her media reputation. So the very first thing I did was to send her a letter. And in my letter, I described a project that would help the dropout rate in Washington, D.C. public schools, which right now, the graduation rate is below 50%. Less than 50% of the kids that go to D.C. public schools graduate. It's absolutely abysmal. And more money is spent per pupil in the D.C. public schools than any other district in the United States. You see? So people really don't get their money's worth there. That's a huge problem. So I thought that she'd be very interested in it. And so I described the project to her and, really just laid it out for her in the letter. Well, a week goes by. I don't hear from her. So I email her. And I said, did you get my letter that I sent you? And she was very responsive. She emailed right back and she said, did you send it via regular mail or did you send it via email? And I said, well, I sent it via regular mail. And she emailed back and she says, this is exactly what she's told me. Have to send it via email. Regular mail never gets to me. Exclamation mark. Regular mail never gets to me. Why doesn't regular mail ever get to her? What exactly is going on there? I mean, if someone wanted to send Michelle Rhee a letter, she's just saying that she would never get it. I mean, are the guys in the mailroom actually, are they able to read? I mean, what kind of education do they have? And is the place just so dysfunctional? It's just such a big bureaucracy that nothing can be done. Letters don't get to her. Everything works on email now. Well, anyway, I sent her a letter. I sent her an attachment, okay, so she could read it. And she forwarded it to somebody on her staff, whose name was Pinocchio Smith. And Pinocchio Smith read the letter and then, within a matter of moments, rejected it out of hand. Said, nope, we're just not interested. We're not interested in anything that's going to reduce the dropout rate here at the D.C. public schools. We're not interested in a program that's going to get kids to read. We're not interested in a program that's going to, inspire learning. Nothing like that. We don't want anything like that here. Certainly not from you, Mark Dempsey. Give me a break here. So this is what she had to say. This is what Pinocchio Smith had to say. Mr. Dempsey, unfortunately, we cannot participate at this time. We have several exciting and new initiatives that are underway. She spelled exciting, E-X-I-T-I-N-G. Left out the C. That's a misspelling. So I emailed her back and I said, well, Ms. Smith, what are the new and exciting initiatives that you have underway? Didn't get an answer. No reply. Well, then I emailed again. I said, I would like to know what the new and exciting initiatives that you have underway. What are they? And I emailed then Michelle Rhee and I asked her that very same question. What are the new and exciting initiatives that you have underway? And she told me in email that she would make sure that Pinocchio Smith gave me the answers. Well, days went by. I never got an answer. So a few days after that, I contacted every member of the D.C. Public Council, the D.C. Council. These are the people, these are the bureaucrats that really run the city and that are over Michelle Rhee. And I said, listen, I just got an email from Pinocchio Smith. And she's saying that there's some new and exciting initiatives going on in the DC public school system. What are they? I would love to know. Every single council member emailed me back to say they knew nothing about it. They knew nothing about any new and exciting initiatives. Nothing whatsoever. I think I smell a lie here. I mean, have I been lied to? I mean, what will be the reason? I just don't understand it. So finally, I was very persistent, and I asked Michelle Rhee once again to give me the new and exciting initiatives, and she came up with a top 10 list. Very cryptic. It was hard to understand. I'm really not sure what a lot of those were. But Pinocchio Smith never gave me a top 10 list. She never gave me anything. And what was so insightful about this is that Michelle Rhee asked Pinocchio Smith to give me the list, and she did not do it. She was ineffective in getting her own employee to do something as simple as to give me what was new and exciting. You see what those new and exciting initiatives were. On top of that, her mail system is all screwed up. And there must be problems with communication, which leads to dysfunction. That's my point. Now, were these areas ever covered on any of those press, any of the press? No. No questions like this were ever covered. None whatsoever. But just by the simple communication that we had via email and on the phone, I quickly realized that Michelle Rhee probably isn't a good manager. She's probably overwhelmed. And she can't get staff members to do what she says. Now, is that because they don't respect her? Is that because they just say, well, I really don't care? I mean, what's the problem there? What's the problem? The problem is that the dropout rate in the DC public schools right now is horrendous, and it will continue to be horrendous. And it doesn't matter how many headlines Michelle Rhee gets. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good the media treat her. That doesn't matter either. The only thing that matters is really the programs that are set aside to help those kids. And right now, there probably aren't a lot of programs set aside to help those kids. And the wrong people are in place to make the best decisions. And that's my view on the DC public schools, a view that you won't get in the mainstream media because the mainstream media just doesn't ask any tough questions anymore, unlike Mark Dempsey, who asks tough questions all the time. If you'd like to email me a response or you have a question, please do so. My email address is markd112@yahoo.com. It's markd112@yahoo.com. And thanks so much for listening.